Hey guys, once again here bringing a Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we are going to go ahead and jump in and do essentially the same thing that we did last year once the new Heroes units had come out, and now that we've actually had a chance to play around with them, try them out in a bunch of the difficult events and all of that good stuff. We are going to go ahead and put them all into tiers on a tier list. We're going to do this in the sort of lettered tiers style, because I think doing in like just a numbered list is not really going to work out for these guys. It's going to be very difficult, especially when we get towards the bottom, to really put these guys in any sort of like numbered order. So I think doing the lettered tiers is probably going to be the best shout, right? So I've gone for S being the top, and people love to do S or Z for like Dragon Ball related ones, right? Instead of having A be the highest. And then we've got ABC, which I feel like is a pretty good, reasonable way to separate out the middle, and then F, because it's pretty much a case of if you're below C, then you're just not good, like, or verging on, if not legitimately being unrunnable, I guess, is when we get to any units in the F tier. So I guess the problem is, like, when it comes to these kind of lists and Heroes units in general, the Heroes units obviously age like quite quickly, so the much older units, unsurprisingly, are probably all going to be in the lower tier, even though some are obviously considerably better than others. So for the older characters, it will be more a case of putting them in some sort of order. The tiers, I will try and have them ordered as much as possible. So even though most of the much older units are probably going to end up being in the F tier, you know, so we can put them in order of like who's better than who. I might move them around a little bit as well, depending on how we go. But I feel like it's probably going to be a case that as we look across this top row at like the much older units, like these guys are all going to be in F tier, right? Like Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks was super good when he first came out. Like first got his Easy A, he was pretty solid, but obviously he now is very outdated. RNG based additionals, and then he just relies on raw defense. So for current difficult content, obviously he is not going to be very good. Now, I am tempted, I guess, I suppose we could argue that like any character who is dodge or die, but obviously could get the RNG to like dodge every single attack, could maybe be argued as being like not the bottom tier. But then I guess with the way, don't put too much stock in the letters, because like, let's say for example, because of that fact, I was going to put Baby Janemba in the tier above. It would be weird, I think, to have him in like C tier, considering he is a bad unit at this point, right? Completely relies on dodge, dies if he doesn't dodge, doesn't do crazy damage. But I think we could probably put him above Gohan. Trunks, unfortunately, chance to guard. He probably is still better because of having guard, but chance to guard. So not only is guard not guaranteed, but even when he is guarding, even compared to like events from last year or the year before when we were going through difficult content, even when he was guarding, he was still taking some serious damage. So unfortunately, not very good. Probably still better than Gotenks just because of that dodge ability. Super Pycon, he is a stacker. He does have some additionals built in. I mean, you could potentially argue in like a longer event that he could be better defensively than Gotenks, but Gotenks has more teams. This is one of these things I was saying about this bottom tier is, and I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time arguing which one of these guys is better, Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks or Super Pycon, considering that they are not very good. Toa, I'm kind of tempted for now to put her there, just because the support, the massive heal that she can give, obviously the links with all the new extreme units that are really good. She could potentially still be decent. Like we used her in some of the runs for some of the earlier things like the Peppy Gal stages or some early red zones, because that support and that heal can be helpful. Obviously against an STR enemy, a little bit better defensively. Of course, some of the toughest bosses in the game now are STR and would absolutely destroy her, but we'll put her there for now. Super Saiyan 3 Gohan, not very good. Is he better than Super Pycon? Again, difficult to argue when characters are not very good. Characters having a mid-off. Boo, Barbady, obviously not very good. Gives defensive support to the team, so I suppose could be maybe argued as being better than those guys. Maybe. Free to play beat is obviously a stacking unit. Free to play, man, I don't know. Again, I'm just going to put him there for now. Great Saiyan Man 3. The super attack magnet man himself, responsible for me losing many of the Heroes versus Sin runs by eating a super attack. But the thing is, like, against weaker bosses, like, we're not taking him up against, like, Blue Zone Gogeta and stuff like that, right? But against weaker bosses, especially AGL bosses, as long as he doesn't get supered, he could do some okay damage with his counters and tank normals, like, I'm going to say relatively well. Not really that well, but I feel like we could maybe put him there, and then we'll see. Sealess, I think Sealess, I don't want to put him in F tier. I think he's good once he transforms and has big bad bosses. Get some supers off and stuff like that. Why is it not letting me put him there? There we go. You know, back in the day when Hearts had just released, the rotation of Hearts and Sealess was really good. I mean, this guy, I should try him out on the Heroes team now, I guess, now that Meki Kabura has his EZA and everything. Because there's a couple of other extreme Heroes units with big bad bosses that maybe this guy could be run with. And as long as he's not eating a super, like, if he gets a couple of supers off in the turn, his raw defense is okay. Against a physical enemy, he could still be good. But again, remember what I said at the beginning, like, the units in C tier, I'm not saying they're good, right? But just, they're probably, I would say, enough better than the ones in the tier below that they should go into this tier above, right? So, Arms, another free-to-play unit, although he does have big bad bosses, gives some support. I think he could be, like, here or maybe even here. Maybe even here, potentially, like in front of Baby Janemba, but I don't know. Golden Cooler, he's probably up relatively high as well. If he got a bunch of supers off, he had relatively good defense. I'm going to throw him in there. Again, it's really hard to, like, nitpick the placement of the units that just all go in the bottom tier. Fu is an interesting one because he does have very high dodge chance, but again, he's just dodge or die, so you could use him in a run now and he could dodge every attack and you win, or otherwise not. So comparing him to Baby Janemba, if we think back to, like, the Sin runs, Fu has a higher chance to dodge, at least at first, because Janemba builds up dodge, and does more damage, I think, usually as well. So if we're going to put him in the bottom tier, we'll put him above. Now, Super Saiyan 3 Xeno Goku, I want to put him in C for now. Or we could leave him there for now. That would probably annoy people. But because he can kind of be usable still with a full dodge build. Because he has guard. So, like, I had the video go up today of doing the couple of final Blue Zone stages. And I used this guy on the team to do, like, at least one of those. Because he will actually survive. If he doesn't dodge, he can survive some of these, like, big hits in slot 1 if you've got no one else to do it for you. So the fact that, like, you can get away with using him in some of the current events. Obviously, some bosses are still just going to absolutely destroy him. But the fact that you can get away with using him in some of these bosses, I should probably say he's higher than these guys, right? And then, unfortunately, his counterpart, Xeno Vegeta, is he even in C? I would say he's probably worse than all three of those. Is he better than Fu? Probably not, just because these guys can dodge. So he probably goes there, which is awkward for him. But it is what it is. Supreme Kai of Time, unfortunately, support is good, but very outdated now. Doesn't have big bad bosses. Probably not as good as Cooler. Maybe is better than than Boo Barbady. If we're putting support units a little bit higher just because they give support, maybe I will put Boo Barbady above Trunks. But, I mean, these guys, like I say, not really very good. Free-to-play Cumber, I mean, let's just put him right at the end. Great Ape Cumber, he's going to be in F tier as well. He does have the Great Ape transformation, which can be useful, but I guess let's throw him in here. Because his defense isn't the best, so Cooler probably is slightly better defensively after a bunch of additionals, I'm not really sure. Toa, I'm going to go ahead and put her in... Should she go in B or C? She is still usable in events as long as she dodges. So she's either, like, here or here. I guess we could go C, because again, she is dodge or die, right? If she doesn't dodge against these bigger bosses, she dies. She does have the heal, but the turn you get the heal, you then lose the dodge. So if you're up against a really tough boss and you get the heal turn, then you can just die because she then won't dodge. So kind of awkward. Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, we'll put him in A for now. He definitely is still usable. He's better than Goku. Obviously, I think the new build of the Heroes team, I don't really end up using him, but he obviously is still a very good link partner for Limit Breaker Vegito, so they could go relatively well together. Super Saiyan 4 Broly, man, his EZA was disappointing, but like on the right rotation with the giant 8 power allies, he could do some really good damage and have decent raw defense, but is he usable against some of the toughest bosses that we have now? I would say no, simply because you have to build the team a very specific way for him to be at his full potential, which you're realistically not going to do, right? Same with this guy, like he gives support, has decent links for some of the extreme teams that he's on, but not very good defensively. I mean, if we're going to let these guys be sat in the not bottom tier, I think he's probably better than... Is he better than Silas? Is his defense better if you can't lower the enemy's attack? Because he passively lowers the enemy's attack. And he does give support. So maybe we could put him like here. I could definitely see arguments for him being better than Saiyaman, being better than AGL Toa. But he's not a unit that you really use anymore. Not Dark Mask King. Black Mask Saiyan, he kind of sucks. He's probably better than the Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta though. Dark Mask King, I'm going to put him in the same slot as Goku. You can get away with using him in difficult content now. You just have to really hope that he's not the one that eats a super. And the healing that he gives to the team is actually really good and definitely can be very useful. There are turns where like he can get hit in slot 1, take like 400k, then get a crit on his super and heal you back to full health, which is certainly very interesting. So he can be quite decent. Super Mirror, again, he's mid. He needs to stack and he doesn't stack very fast. So, I mean, he has an easy A, so he's probably better than the Vegeta and the guys below him, I guess. So we'll put him there. Free to play easy A guy, not very good. Does have dodge. Is he better than some of these guys? I don't know. He's not very good. Again, it's very difficult to decide. He's probably not as good as Arms, but is he as good as Cooler? Which one would I use if I was putting one of them on the team? I mean, probably I wouldn't want to use either of them, but maybe we'll put him there for now. AGL Dabura, he kind of sucks. Is he better than any of these guys? Maybe. We'll throw him there for now. Then we have Meki Goatbura. So I'm going to put this guy. He's going to be the first guy in the S tier. Because remember, we're talking about Heroes units as well. Again, to be very clear, this isn't a tier list of like the TURs in the game, right? Otherwise, you know, they would all be considerably lower. But in terms of the Heroes units, Meki Cabra definitely one of the best. He's hitting some crazy attack stats. I put up a short, it happened on stream the other night if people saw it, but I put up a short on the TikTok of him living a super attack from Int Kid Buu from the red zone, which he took way less damage than I expected. Like, if you can get enough rainbow orbs with him, his defense can actually be really good. And obviously, if you have attacked with him a whole bunch of times as you go through the event, he infinitely stacks attack. So he's able to get up to some really high numbers. And especially with like the new Fu and the new Demigra, he's got some good link partners. So he actually can be very, very good. So God Trunks, man, God Trunks is kind of tricky because in terms of if we're just talking about Heroes units, he is one of the best or like one of the better ones. He's not great defensively against super attacks for sure, but in a turn where he gets a bunch of additional supers off, he'll tank normals pretty well and he'll do a lot of damage. So if we compared him directly to Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, he's doing more damage in the current like build. He shares a lot of links with Goku. He's doing more damage. As long as he gets some supers off, they're tanking normals probably about the same because they have the same kind of raw defense. And then they would both die to a super, but Vegito has like a 50% chance to counter it. So I'm going to put, they would both be here, I think, but we'll put Trunks above Vegito because I think when it comes to building what would be the optimal Heroes team for beating some of these endgame events, there are some events where I would bring God Trunks, and I don't know if there's as many events where I would bring Vegito now, especially with the fact that Limit Breaker Vegito, while still being runnable, depending on the rotations you want to use, sometimes it ends up being a floating unit, so you don't necessarily have as much value for the unit that's kind of there to be his hype man, right? Like his link partner and support unit. So Pan, Pan can go in A. I'd be tempted to put her in S, because out of the easy A's, like Meki Cabra and her were probably the best ones. She does rely on dodge, but of course every time she dodges she gets a lot of defense, so once she's gotten a couple of dodges off, she can tank relatively well. But again, when it comes to like the biggest bosses, she's obviously not going to be tanking like big super attacks particularly well or anything. But the dodge chance, like 70%, we're basically talking like UI levels of dodge, so you can get lucky and the dodges come in clutch. You could make an argument that she could be at like the bottom of the S tier, maybe. So we'll leave her there for now. Then we have Vegex. So Vegex is better than I thought he was originally. Like after seeing him in action, he can stack quite quickly. I think we'll just leave him in B, but I'd probably put him at the near the top. Although I say that, again, if we're talking about like how I place Trunks and Vegito, if we're talking about who I would bring in difficult content, there are some stages where you could probably get away with using him, especially if the stage goes on for a little bit longer, if the stage has status effects available early on so you can get extra supers. But I would probably bring these two over him, right? So we'll put him there. The Super Saiyan 3 fusions, again, like, they probably are better than the units in the tier below, but they're not great, so we'll put them there for now. Xeno Goku and Xeno Vegeta, these guys have potential, so I think they go in A. There are some situations where they will just straight up be better than Super Saiyan 4 Vegito, because their raw defense is going to build up much higher than his, but obviously if they take a super, they die. If he takes a super, he dies, but he could counter it, whereas they obviously can't. So it's kind of tricky. I mean, I could see the argument for this, especially in the current setup, because like this guy's going to buff Goku, Vegeta buffs God Trunks. Like, I don't know. I think if I had to pick the final slot on a team, depending on the typing of the boss, maybe I would pick Vegito over them. So we'll do that. Demon Goddess Poutine, again, like the free-to-play units, it's really hard to just think where exactly they would go, so I'm just going to throw them in there. The Limit Breakers, I mean, very much looking forward to them getting their Easy A next year, but they're probably C tier. In fact, like they might even be, they're probably better than Sealess, but I don't know if they're better than Toa. Like, that you could probably throw Toa on a team still and be okay, whereas you're not going to be using these guys. You might even be able to throw AGL Toa on a team maybe, but she doesn't have built-in dodge, which is the main problem. So I guess we could put them there. C tier. Is anyone in F tier? Would I say they are better than them as of now? Fu and Janemba, obviously, like I say, are weird, like wild cards, because in theory you could take them into the toughest event in the game as long as it doesn't disable dodge, and they could dodge every single attack. So it's kind of hard to rate those kind of units. But Super Saiyan 4 Bardock, F tier for now. Obviously he needs the better allies and stuff. He's probably better than... Is he better than Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta? I think he does have some dodge built in as long as you have a giant 8 power ally, so maybe. And then Gohan, unfortunately, just isn't good at tanking anymore, and that's kind of the only thing he does. So he would be in this tier. Maybe he would be there, I guess. Actually, no, Dark I hate Black Marcel. I think he's terrible, so maybe I'll put him there. But these guys should Easy A next year with the Limit Breakers, though, Bardock and Gohan, so that's going to be interesting. Roselle herself, the originator of the meme. I'm going to put her in C tier. She does at least have the dodge. She has healing on Rainbow Orbs, and she has the potential for a Scouter. So again, there are situations where you could use her on a team now, and she could still do okay. I think she's better than everybody that she's above in this section. Arguably on some turns with the utility, if you do get the Scouter, you could argue that she's better than Toa, but I don't think so. So Corrupted Supreme Kai time, she sucks. You have to have the status ally effects, which you can do in some more events now, but she's just not very good. I really don't know where to put her, because like some of they're all just bad. I'm just gonna put her, I don't know, let's just put her with the normal Supreme Kai of time, and that might be unfair to Boo Barbady even, but who knows. So we have Hearts. Do we put Hearts here? I actually think Toa probably is just more usable than Super Saiyan 4 Broly, and so is Robel potentially. Um, is Hearts more usable than Toa though? Probably. Against tough bosses, he's taking some big damage now, even from like normal attacks. And of course Toa will, but Toa has built-in dodge. And he has guard, but only for a few turns. The new team can move fairly quickly though, with like Mechikabra, Demigra, Fu, giving this guy big bad bosses. Like post super, while his guard is still active, he could still be okay, I guess. And of course he's going to get his Easy A next year as well, so that could be, I imagine he's going to be insane. But I guess for now we can leave him at the top of C tier. I don't think there's many events I would go into now where I would build a team and still put him on there, whereas at least for everyone in B tier I could say that we potentially could, right? Like I used the Fusion Super Saiyan 3s in some of the Peppy stages because their status effect abilities are actually useful there, right? Whereas Hearts, I mean, he does have that stun ability, I suppose, but yeah, I don't think that's enough for him to be in a decent spot on the team, on the tier list. Then we have Lags, another free-to-play unit that I don't really care about rating which one's better or not, so let's just throw her in there. Then we have Limit Breaker Vegito. So I'm tempted for him to still be an S, because in terms of the heroes units, he still is very much a runnable unit. Now that he has other units that can go around him and potentially be in slot 1, like post-super, he still tanks like relatively well. He has that damage reduction for the early turns, so I think he is still actually very runnable, and I think we could probably have him in S tier, although by the time we've put the other characters in, I think he's probably going to be near the bottom of the S tier, but yeah. So then we have Limit Breaker Broly. See, I've said already, not that it's a hard and fast rule, but that B tier are characters that I would still use on some events, like if we could potentially get away with it. I don't know if I would for him. So that means pretty much C tier. But then, is he better than Hearts? I mean, if he gets the turn where he gets a bunch of additional supers, maybe. Is he better than Toa? Probably not. Like, I would put Toa on a team before I would put Limit Breaker Broly on the team. Same for you probably as well. So then maybe there, because at least he has... I would probably use him over the Tech Broly. Yeah, maybe we are doing that. I don't know. We'll do that for now. Rose, I'm going to say... see, if I put Vegito in S tier, I'm kind of tempted to put Rose in S tier, but he's going to end up near the bottom. But because he guards, after supering, his defense is really good still. But, like, how does he match up defensively post-super, even with the guard, compared to, like, Pan, Trunks, Vegito? Is he better than them? I mean, the guard does help a lot. Maybe we'll put him at the end of the S tier for now, and then maybe he'll move down. But then we have Berserk Blue controlled Vegeta. He's not very good. I wouldn't use him on any stages. Is he better than any of these guys? I think Broly probably is better than him. The only time you would probably use him is against like multiple enemies. Maybe against like against like AGL as well. So maybe we'll just throw him in there. The free-to-play Toa is pretty good. She is actually probably one of the better heroes units as well, despite being free to play. So, is she better than them? She does rely on dodge, but she does get really good raw defense as well. So, I say rely on dodge. She can get really good raw defense, so maybe we'll put her in there. I mean, there are turns where you could say, like, there are some turns where she could actually probably just be better than God Trunks. But in terms of consistency, she does want more extreme sort of builds as well, so I'll probably leave her there. Then we have the Dark King Fu. He's not a unit that I think we would really use much anymore. Outside of like maybe against like a physical boss, but he's probably better than... With the dodge, he probably is better than Hearts, and at least does have big bad bosses. Metal Cooler, I think, is actually still very usable. He would either be... I would use him over any of those three fusions, I think. Certain bosses, I would use him over Dark Mask King, but that depends on the typing and depends just how hard that boss is hitting, because he does have good damage reduction. Then we have Dark Janemba. Dark Janemba can still be somewhat usable, but he does get hit really hard as like the first attacks of the turn, and then he runs out of his guard after a certain number of turns. So he's either like top of C tier or maybe at the end of B. There are situations where he could be easily better than those two, and probably even better than this guy in certain situations. He does also have big bad bosses, but he has to build up by getting hit, and his start of turn 1 defense is really bad. So I think these guys at the end of B tier, you could probably argue could be switched around a bit. But then we have the new Fu. I mean, he is good. He's not like the craziest of the new units or anything. So I think let's put him. He's better than probably all of these guys. So is he better than Rose? Probably. Is he better than Limit Breaker Vegito though? I don't know, because he does need to dodge. He is good. I'm actually torn whether he's better than Limit Breaker Vegito or not. Later in the event, he probably is because of the Limit Breaker Vegito losing his damage reduction. But Eos is good. Let's put her. Is she S? Is she better than Rose or Fu? Maybe. The support's really nice. Her defense, she does still kind of become a dodge or die character against the tough bosses though. So like comparing her directly to Pan. They give a similar level of support. They have very similar kits. Pan has a higher dodge chance, so let's put her there for now. Demigra goes up here. Probably on a lot of turns he's going to be better than Meki Kabura, but obviously like it depends whether he's getting blasted by a super attack in slot 1, but Meki Kabura can't go in slot 1, so we'll put him there. Then we have Universe Tree Goku. I think overall, like I'd made the joke when we put the videos out, first of all, is like, is Demigra better than Universe Tree Goku? But he has got that really annoying extreme class restriction, which stops him from being as good as he could be. And he's not on a lot of 200% teams. Like, he's really fun on Slug's team, but he only gets the 170 lead, which makes it even harder for him to be a really effective slot 1 tank. So I think Goku probably is better. Warrior in Black, like I say, he's better than we thought he was. I don't think he's better than any of these guys at the top. So you could probably argue him in A. Pan and Eos, because of the support, are potentially better. So he could go there. But it's one of those things where if the enemy has low HP, so he's losing his damage reduction, he does big damage. And then I guess he's on par with Trunks, I suppose. Whereas if he... Oh, it's tough. Because, yeah, you could do this even. But, like, here, maybe you are better than, like, those two. Like, it's tough. Like, it's kind of situational. But I guess we'll put him there for now. And then the last one is the free-to-play female warrior in black, who is okay. She can build up to, like, a decent amount. I probably would still, rather than using her, because she doesn't have, like, support unless you're a Yamcha. Well, she has a little bit. She doesn't have a lot of dodge. I'd probably still run some of these guys over her. Maybe she's in C tier. Maybe just because she's newer, she's better than these guys. Like in the showcase I did for her, she did build up to some okay numbers. But I mean, at a bare minimum, she would be like here, I think. But yeah, I think that's going to be it. So there you go. There's all of the heroes units put into tiers. Shall we move any of these around now that we look at the top one? S tier, Goku, Demigra, Meki Kabura, Vegito, Fu, Rose. I think, is Fu better than Vegito? I'm not sure. It's one of those things. If I want to run Demigra and then like him with Meki Kabura, I want to run extreme units on the team so I can get the full extreme rotation for Demigra more often, and then he can get that like really strong tanking. So in that instance, like I would put Fu on the team over Vegito. But then also, if I want to run Goku as the leader, I've been using a setup where I run like Vegito as a friend and have them two together as the rotation, so everyone else on the team can be extreme. So I think we could probably just go ahead and leave him there for now. But like, this is the thing, right? I've tried to order the tiers as well as possible, but if you think any units that are like right next to each other should just swap around, then obviously I'm not going to have a huge argument against that. But there you go. That's what I'm thinking for the heroes tier list. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Obviously, in the current meta with the events that we have now, like it's realistically only the units in the top 2 tiers that are going to be the better ones and the runnable ones against some of these tough bosses. And then you can get away with some of the ones in B tier maybe even C tier. I mean, again, I almost feel like we could put Toa, like, if we're saying that the units in B are the ones that you can still get away with running, we could probably put Toa, like, here, here, or even here, potentially, as long as she's actually getting the dodges. But there are turns where if she's doing what she's meant to do, she's arguably better than, like, all these guys for the team. Maybe even better than you as well. Not you. Maybe even better than you as well. So let's put her in... yeah, let's put her in this spot. If I really had to choose, I would bring Metal Cooler into some events now. If I really had to make a decision for like who the 6th unit on the team would be, I think for some events I would pick her over them. So let's leave them there like that. And let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Who would you move around, up or down tiers, left or right? Like I say, if they're right next to each other, I probably wouldn't argue too much anyway. But let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. This is all the heroes units in tiers. It's not super serious, like I'm not going to get into massive arguments with people if you disagree with the placements. I just thought it'd be fun to do. It's a lot of units, so relatively long video, but let me know your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.